Afternoon. I am Major Caleb Sen, the Chicago commander for the Salvation Army, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the Salvation Army today. We're going to discuss a collaboration between the city and the Salvation Army to help those in need in our city who have come for help and refuge. The Salvation Army is an international ministry with a mission to meet human needs in Jesus' name without discrimination. We've been living that mission in the city of Chicago for 135 years. We do that by providing shelter, meals, spiritual and social services to those who need love and hope the most in this community. It was our truth yesterday, it is our truth today, and it is what we will do tomorrow. Our mission is to ensure that all people, whether from Chicago or Venezuela, know no hunger and have a safe place to sleep. The Salvation Army has been a long-time partner with the city of Chicago in providing housing and services through our core community centers and our homeless shelters, which serve 1 million people a year. Our collaboration with the city in this effort is a natural extension of that partnership. We are, as the Salvation Army, praying for these individuals who have come to our city and their families as they adjust to new surroundings. And we will be working to ensure they have adequate resources while they are here. And now it's my privilege to welcome the mayor of the great city of Chicago, Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
You know, I was struck when I walked into this room and I looked at the folks here. It feels like we are in a chapel and we are the chorus. We are the chorus that has come together to sing a song of partnership, collaboration, and unity. A song of welcome for our brothers and sisters who are now here in our city and traveling from far away, looking for and seeking the same thing that all of us want: peace, safety, shelter, be able to raise their children in a way that they have the ability to prosper. And that, to me, is really what this moment is about. We are Chicago, a welcoming city, a city where we live our values every single day, a city where immigrants and refugees have been a part of the fabric of the city from our earliest days. Last night, we showed our mettle, the best of who we are. We have organized and collaborated and come together to ensure that a group of migrants from Venezuela would have food, clothing, and shelter. And that's what we do, because this is who we are as Chicagoans. I want to next thank our many partners. And I will read a formal list in a moment, but I have to start with thanking several people in the mayor's office who have been working tirelessly for some time. Paul Goodrich, our Chief Operations Officer, Tina Hohen, our Chief Engagement Officer, Nubia Willman, the head of our Office of New Americans, Darcy Flynn, the head of our Gender-Based Violence Initiatives, Maria Martinez of our IGA team. I also want to thank Commissioner Brandy Kanazi and the team at the Department of Family and Support Services. They have been working tirelessly doing yeoman's work. I also want to thank Director Rich Gaitis of the OEMC for his always outstanding leadership in coordinating and rallying city services. Rich, thank you as well. I am joined, as you can see, by local, state, and federal community leaders to discuss last night's arrival of the migrants who were bused here to our city and reiterate our continued commitment to being a welcoming city for all. 75 individuals were dropped off at Union Station. The conclusion of what I can only imagine was a confusing, distressing, and mentally exhausting half-day traveling across our country after a long journey to even get here. The city, which has been preparing for this day for some time, quickly collaborated across various departments and agencies to ensure that we greeted them with dignity, respect, and importantly, with resources. And we understand that many of these individuals who are, as you heard, primarily from Venezuela, are fleeing violent, traumatic, and otherwise unsustainable environments in their home countries. And will continue to respond, and we will continue to respond with essential services while they can navigate their next steps of their journey. This is a very important moment for our city to stand up and unite and help these individuals start the next chapter of their lives on solid ground and solid footing. For decades, our city has been a sanctuary for thousands of newcomers. And every year, our city welcomes hundreds of migrants and provides them with much needed assistance. And when I say our city, I don't just mean our city government. I mean community-based organizations, our neighbors, stand up and rally to support. We saw that last year with Afghanis who are fleeing the terrible violence and the destruction in their home country. We've seen that more recently with Ukrainians who are coming here to join family members in many instances. But whether they join family or not, we welcome them with open arms. The assistance that we provide by our community partners who have been working diligently to ensure our safety net is woven together as tightly as possible to support each and every one of our new neighbors. It's thanks to their efforts, complemented by the city's resources, that immigrants and refugees who arrive here, and certainly last night, and their families did receive the shelter, food, and most importantly, protection. Let me say loud and clear to Greg Abbott and his enablers in Texas. With these continued political stunts, Governor Abbott has confirmed what unfortunately many of us had already known, that he is a man without any morals, humanity, or shame. Instead of treating these individuals with respect that they deserve, the due process that our laws require, Governor Abbott chose instead to inhumanely load them onto buses, send them on a more than 12-hour journey across a country that they don't know, and to drop them off without any regard for what the next steps are. Folks, these are human beings, moms and dads, young children, elders, who deserve our respect and dignity. They're not cargo. They are not chattel. They're human beings, just like you and me. Governor Abbott's racist and xenophobic practices of expulsion have only amplified the challenges many of these migrants have experienced on their journey to find a safe place. The governor's actions are not just inhumane, they are unpatriotic. This cannot be who we are as Americans. We have to stand for a different and better set of principles. If we are going to be a leader in the world, on the international stage, but even here at home, we must reject these policies and practices and say, as Americans, we must do better. I also want to say shame on the bus companies, who frankly are just as complicit in being a part of this indignity. And while there's no way that we can fully make up for the cruelty that our new neighbors have experienced, what we have and will continue to do is welcome them with open arms and refuse to turn our backs on them in a time when they need support the most. So I do want to formally thank all of the community partners and organizations who have been providing and will continue to provide this needed support. And many of them are with us here today. Let me start, of course, with the Salvation Army. Thank you. Catholic Charities, the Resurrection Project, National Immigrant and Justice Center, NIJC, the Hannah Center, Erie Neighborhood House, Rincon Family Services, Onward House, Metropolitan Family Services Legal Aid Society, ICER, Interfaith Coalition for Detained Immigrants, Erie Family Health Centers, Esperanza Health Centers, American Business Immigration Coalition, Pilsen Neighbors Community Council, Family Focus, and Panas in Chicago. I must also thank the state, led by, of course, Governor Pritzker, and you'll hear from Deputy Governor Saul Flores in a moment, I also want to thank President Preckwinkle and Cook County government, who have also stepped up in really important ways in this moment. I also want to thank Alderman Nugent for her support and for her continued leadership in welcoming these migrants to our city and her ward. We are standing in her ward today. I also want to thank other City Council colleagues, including Alderman Boyos, who is also here with us today. Though Senator Durbin, Duckworth, and Representative Schakowsky could not be in attendance, their unwavering support, we couldn't do this work without them. I also want to thank them for everything that they do to continue advocating for immigration rights here in Illinois, and for the staff who are here today that they sent representing our federal delegation. Thanks to each and every one of them. Folks, this is, as I said, an important moment in our city's history. We're going to look back on this chapter, I am confident, with great pride because of what all of us, the collective we, have and will continue to do to stand tall in this moment and make sure that we live our values as a welcoming city. Now, with that, I'd like to welcome to the microphone Ted Berger, who is from Cook County and is a board executive director of Emergency Management and Regional Security. Ted is here on behalf of President Preckwinkle. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate the introduction. Good afternoon. I am Ted Berger, the Executive Director of the Cook County Department of Emergency Management and Regional Security. I am here on behalf of President Preckwinkle, who regrets she was unable to join you today. To our newest residents arriving from Texas, welcome to Cook County. Cook County is among the most diverse communities in the world and inspires so many to make their homes here. The more diverse we are, the stronger we are. We are proud to be a safe and welcoming county for all. It is imperative that we lead with compassion in a time of humanitarian need. President Preckwinkle's administration is working with the City of Chicago, the State of Illinois, our federal government partners, and nonprofit agencies to ensure that our newest residents have access to the resources and services they need at this critical time. Under President Preckwinkle's leadership, we pledge to provide financial support, access to medical care, and all of the services we can offer to ensure our new neighbors are treated with dignity and respect, and that they have the foundation they need to be successful as they begin their new lives here in Cook County. Additionally, in this moment, it's important to also raise awareness of the immigration unit at the Cook County Public Defender's Office. This important unit was recently established for situations exactly like this, one to help ensure immigrants in our community, including those who recently fled harm in their native countries and are seeking safety in the United States, that they have greater access to the immigration legal resources that they need. The immigration unit accepts calls between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., and their phone number is 312-603-0636. Again, 312-603-0636. In the coming days and weeks, Cook County government will work closely with our partners and our newest residents to ensure that their services and the resources they need, that we're providing them to meet their needs. It is our privilege to continue the county's long-held commitment to immigrants in our community. Thank you so much. And it is now my honor to introduce Deputy Governor Saul Flores at this time. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Ted, and thank you, Mayor Lightfoot, and to all of our city colleagues and county colleagues for their support, and a tremendous thanks and gratitude to all of the nonprofit organizations that the mayor named who have come together over the last few days to help us plan, and most importantly, to be there last night as we welcome these families to Illinois. I'm here also with other representatives representatives from state government and IEMA, and our Director of Refugee Resettlement and Welcoming Centers, Lilian Jimenez. And I'd also like to acknowledge my colleagues in the Illinois General Assembly who are here with us today as well, Leader Ramirez and Senator Villanueva. Illinois has been a state that welcomes refugees, migrants, and asylum seekers with dignity and respect, and I'm proud to continue that tradition. It's why my own parents and grandparents traveled from Puerto Rico to Chicago more than 60 years ago and raised me just a few miles from here, where they knew they could find new opportunity here in this city and state. It's why Ukrainian refugees, like Governor Pritzker's family, came here in 1881. And it's why in 2019, Governor Pritzker signed legislation expanding protections for our immigrant communities and restored funding to the Illinois Welcoming Centers, which have only become stronger with his support and the support of the General Assembly, particularly Leader Lisa Hernandez. Illinois is and always has been a welcoming place. The 75 people who arrived in Chicago last night have been through weeks and even months of difficult, frightening travel to make a better life for their families. They deserve so much more than being villainized as Governor Abbott's political pawns, and we will make sure they are treated with basic human dignity. Governor Pritzker has already reached out to members of our federal delegation to discuss how the federal government will provide assistance to support our work here in Illinois. The Illinois Department of Human Services is offering comprehensive case management through our welcoming centers. Each individual will receive an assessment to figure out housing, employment options, education for any children, local health care, and medical coverage. Along with our partners in the city and our federally qualified health care centers, they are also providing medical screenings. Some of these individuals are hoping to move on to another state or city, and we will be partnering with organizations that can help provide additional assistance needed to get there safely. We are working together across agencies and departments to ensure that the transition to Chicago is as painless as possible for people who have already been through so much pain to make here. Your journey has a purpose, and we honor the sacrifices that you have made to get here. I'd like to again thank all of the numerous organizations who have been working with us day and night to ensure that this is a seamless process. And on behalf of Governor Pritzker, Secretary Ho, and myself, I want to welcome you all to Chicago and to Illinois. I'm going to repeat briefly some of my remarks in Spanish. Illinois siempre ha sido un estado que da la bienvenida a refugiados, migrantes y solicitantes de asilo con dignidad y respeto, y me da la orgullo continuar con esta tradición. Es porque mis padres y abuelos vinieron de Puerto Rico a Chicago hace más de 60 años y me criaron con unas pocas millas de aquí, donde sabían que podían encontrar nuevas oportunidades aquí en Chicago. Es porque los refugiados ucranianos, como la familia del gobernador Pritzker, vinieron aquí en el 1881. Es que en 2019 el gobernador Pritzker firmó una legislación que amplía las protecciones para las comunidades inmigrantes. Illinois es y siempre ha sido un lugar acogedor para todos los que necesitan. Las 75 personas que llegaron a Chicago anoche han pasado semanas, incluso meses de viajes difíciles, peligrosos y aterradores para darle una mejor vida a sus familias. Merecen mucho más que ser utilizados como peones políticos del gobernador Abbott, y nos aseguraremos de que aquí sean tratados con dignidad. El Departamento de Servicios Humanos de Illinois les ofrecerá una coordinación de servicios a través de nuestros centros de bienvenida. Cada persona recibirá una evaluación para servicios sociales. Algunas de estas personas esperan irse a otra ciudad o estado y vamos a trabajar con organizaciones que pueden ayudar a brindar la asistencia adicional necesaria para llegar ahí. Su viaje tiene un propósito y honramos los sacrificios que han hecho para llegar hasta aquí. De parte del gobernador Pritzker, la secretaria Ho y mía, quiero darles la bienvenida a Chicago y a Illinois. I'd now like to turn it over to Commissioner Brandy Kanazi from the City of Chicago.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Governor, for your remarks. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brandy Kanazi, and it is my honor to lead the Chicago Department of Family and Support Services. First, I want to thank Mayor Lightfoot for your steadfast resolve for serving our city's immigrants and upholding our values as a welcoming city. Thank you, Mayor, for everything. Your leadership has been integral as we put inclusivity, equity, and community into action. As we welcome our new arrivals with open arms, we are proud to have the city working together and provide a space where these individuals can be served holistically. Thanks to our whole of government approach with our city agencies and so many organizations who have stepped up on very short notice to meet our new arrivals exactly where we are or where they are, we are able to serve them. I also want to thank the DFSS, OEMC, CTA, AIS, fire, police, and the mayor's office, and so many more city agencies for all of the work people put in over the last 24 hours to put our reception center and shelter plan together. You all came together under incredible short notice, and it has really shown what we can do. With our partnership from organizations and our communities and so many others, we have been able to provide care that is both culturally competent and trauma-informed. That trauma-informed care is so crucial right now. We know that many individuals have made this journey while fleeing violence, persecution, and instability from their home countries. Many have walked miles just to get here, and so the healthcare needs that they have is great. When these individuals made it to our care, they were greeted with food, shelter, clothing, clean towels, and a shower. And then we also provided them with the warmth of our hearts. For the first time in a long time, individuals could rest knowing that they were in a safe space where their care mattered. We are concerned for their well-being. Today's all hand on deck. Our intake efforts have given us a chance to better understand each individual's needs. We are engaging everyone on a one-on-one basis, providing access to health care, legal services, connections to families, as many more services. This effort will continue over the next few days. Most importantly, we are building trust and relationships that is necessary to support them on their journey toward their goals, whatever that may be. The trauma that people in transit experience are many. There's trauma that causes individuals to flee in their homes in the first place, and it is the journey that is traumatic in itself. There's also trauma when arriving in a completely foreign place. Today, we are coming together as a city to ensure that at least some of the trauma is lessened and to provide critical resources that is necessary for them to heal and grow. So thank you, and next I'll introduce Director Rich Gaitis.
Thank you, Commissioner, and good afternoon. I'm Rich Gaitis, the Executive Director of the Office of Emergency Management and Communications. I want to acknowledge the tremendous effort by our city workers and partners that planned and prepared for the reception of individuals from the southern border. A significant amount of hard work has gone into this humanitarian mission by all involved. OEMC has been coordinating response efforts with multiple city departments and agencies to respond to the needs of those arriving in Chicago. This includes establishing a reception center, offering provisions and services, as well as temporary housing accommodations. The city and our community partners have been working together to ensure everyone who arrives in Chicago is welcomed and provided with the support they need and treated with dignity. As a sanctuary city, Chicago was aware of the possibility of receiving buses from Texas and were prepared last night for the reception of the 75 individuals that were dropped off at Union Station. These new arrivals have been provided with essential services and a place to rest. We will continue to work to ensure we provide a safe and stable environment for them until they are connected with sponsors, family, or long-term services. Thank you. I'd now like to introduce Alderman Ariel Raboyes. Alderman.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Ariel Raboyes, the Chairman of Immigration and Refugee Rights Committee, and I'm very proud to be here today. I want to thank all the agencies that are here, because without their help, this would not be here today. Thank you, Mayor, for what you're doing. Major Son, thank you for what you're doing for this community. You know, the reality is, you all have families. Think about it. They do too. They deserve to be treated like humans. And we're going to do that here in the city of Chicago. So thank you to the governor from Texas, because these are going to be families that we're going to take care of. Soy Ariel Reboiras, el chairman del Comité de Inmigración y Derechos Refugiados del municipio de Chicago. Estoy aquí, me siento orgulloso en aceptar esos individuos que vinieron del estado de Texas. Como dice la alcaldesa, ellos son humanos, tenemos que tratarlos como humanos. Somos miembros de familia, ellos también tienen miembros de familia. Gracias a todos los que se encuentran aquí hoy, las agencias comunitarias que se encuentran aquí, los líderes del condado Cook, del estado y los federales. Sin ellos, esto no sería posible. Así que gracias a todos, sigan pensando. Ellos también necesitan ayuda. Muchas gracias. Ms. Rendón.
No quiso intentar mi primer nombre. Buenas tardes. My name is Ere Rendon. I'm the Vice President of Immigrant Justice at TRP. I myself crossed the border when I was 4 years old. I now have DACA. But back in 1990, my family also arrived without anything. And I think the circumstances that folks are arriving at now have changed. But also the fact that there's the city, the county, and the state are all collaborating and setting an example for how to welcome immigrants. I just want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. And especially thank you all from the bottom of my 4-year-old heart. The Resurrection Project has been working with our partner organizations that the mayor mentioned at the center since yesterday, making sure that folks were welcomed and welcomed in their own language. Our nonprofit partners are making sure that we're giving interpretation and making sure that immigrants have the basic needs that they need right now, and then making sure that they have what they need to be able to move forward. I want to remind folks that we need a federal policy that allows people to be able to seek family reunification, refuge, and work. And it is our right to seek asylum. It is guaranteed under the U.S. and international law. Buenas tardes, me llamo Ere Rendón, soy vicepresidenta de Justicia para el Inmigrante en el proyecto Resurrección. Cuando yo tenía 4 años, yo crucé la frontera y como muchos de los inmigrantes que llegaron anoche, también no teníamos nada. Pero quiero darle gracias a la ciudad de Chicago, al estado de Illinois y al condado de Cook por darnos el ejemplo de cómo se tiene que dar la bienvenida a los inmigrantes. Así debería de ser siempre y en todos lugares. El proyecto Resurrección no está trabajando solo, está trabajando con varias organizaciones. Estamos interpretando para asegurar que los inmigrantes puedan tener el cuidado que necesitan en su propio idioma y asegurando que, por lo tanto, sus necesidades básicas los puedan tener y viendo qué es lo que sigue para que ellos puedan seguir en su camino. Necesitamos una política federal que nos deja llegar a los Estados Unidos legalmente, que nos deja reunificarnos con nuestra familia, que nos deja buscar refugio cuando lo necesita y nos deja trabajar. El derecho de poder pedir asilo es un derecho garantizado abajo de las leyes de los Estados Unidos y también leyes internacionales. Muchas gracias.
Before I take questions, let me also thank the members of the Chicago Fire Department, led by Commissioner Annette Nance Holt. I want to particularly highlight the paramedics and the EMTs who were on site last night rendering medical treatment and made sure that the folks that arrived were examined and those that were in need were taken care of. Now I'm happy to take your questions.
Thanks a lot, Mayor. Members of the media, Ash and I will bring down the mic as always. We'll kick it off with Mariano Gilis. 2 questions per reporters. On topic, please.
Mayor, I'm sure you visited the families and the individuals this morning. How was their first night in Chicago? How are they doing today?
I haven't seen them yet today, but I did see them last night. And I have to say, I was heartened by how remarkable they were. They were in good spirits, obviously nervous and had a lot of concerns. But you know what I think it showed was their incredible determination and resilience. So I was overwhelmed with emotion when I had time to spend with them because they were just remarkably resilient.
I'm sure services are not unlimited. I'm wondering how much longer can the city, maybe the state, help these people? And are you worried that maybe more immigrants are coming this way from states like Texas, for example?
Well, if we take Governor Abbott's threats, and that's what I regard them as, seriously, I would expect that we will see more. And yes, this is not something that we budgeted for, but it's something that we must do. And so we will figure out the finances, working collaboratively with the federal government, the state, and the county. The county in particular has already stood up. I'm expecting to see other resources come from our other partners, but it's what must be done. This is a humanitarian crisis manufactured by a cheap politician who is focused on his own political fortunes and pandering to, frankly, the lowest common denominator in his party at the expense of these people's humanity and lives. So we have to be the opposite of that and do whatever is necessary to stand up in this moment, and we will do it.
Excellent. Viviana, Univision Network.
Thank you, Mayor. It is my understanding that some people have already immigration court appointments. How soon they can be transported to cities like New York and Los Angeles?
Well, as you heard from the Commissioner Kanazi and others, what's happened over the course of less than 24 hours is really kind of understanding what their needs are. It was our understanding that some of these folks would be transitioning to other cities and states, and so we're going to help them do that. NIGC, the National Immigrant Justice Center, the lawyers, case managers are already on the ground here today, and they'll be doing that assessment, making sure that their rights are upheld and helping them navigate what I think is often a very Byzantine immigration system. So I can't give you the kind of specificity that your question asked for, but believe that the work is ongoing to make sure that they are going to get access to due process and the rights that they are guaranteed under our laws.
All right, JC, NBC.
Thank you, Mayor. What type of collaboration or communication at all has there been between governments, between yourself and the Abbott administration to coordinate this?
Well, let's be clear. The Abbott administration has not collaborated with anybody. They put people on a truck, on a bus, without any regard for their safety, and then dropped them off here. It would be nice if they had collaborated with us. It would be nice if they had communicated who they were sending, what numbers, what their circumstances are, whether or not they needed any kind of medical assistance, whether they were going to be here in Chicago or going elsewhere. That's what a leader would do. That is not who Governor Abbott is. That's not what he's done. What you have seen instead is what we do in Chicago and Illinois. We all collaborate. We've been talking for quite some time back and forth about the possibility when we saw the threat and then the first folks being gone, shipped to New York City and to Washington, D.C. We are showing leadership. He is not.
Seeing firsthand reporting on the border, I've unfortunately seen the separated families that were reported on years ago. What steps are in place in case the governor decides to continue to send busloads, including children that may be unaccompanied? What type of plans are there in place to make sure that families can stay together and these migrants can stay safe?
Well, look, I will tell you, it is my prayer, literally, that this man finds some humanity and doesn't do that. But should he continue to do what he seems determined to do, we're ready. We are the village, and we are going to make sure that whoever comes to Chicago, that we're going to take care of them, that they are going to find shelter here, and that they are going to be welcome. And we will do whatever it takes to make sure that their rights are respected. So we're ready, we're prepared, and as I said, this is not the way to do it. He is manufacturing a crisis. It's totally unnecessary.
Jose, I'm sorry.
If it continues, we'll be ready. Yes, sir.
Jose
Mayor,
Telemundo.
you said that you saw them yesterday. Any special thing that you remember for them? What something special that you would like to share to us?
Well, I got to spend a little bit of time with some of the children and the families, and you know, through an interpreter, just told them that we would be here for them. And I think they were all very, very grateful after the journeys that they've been on, traveling from their home countries, being treated as coarsely as they were by the governor of Texas, coming here and finding a completely different experience. I think some of them were a little bit surprised, but I think as the reality that we are going to treat them with dignity and respect really sinks in, I'm confident that the burdens that they've been carrying are going to be a little bit lighter. I mean, they've got a long journey to go, there's no question. But as I said, I was really heartened by their resiliency. And they seemed like they were in a pretty good place under the circumstances.
Esther, WBEZ.
Have you been in touch with officials in New York and D.C., and what are some lessons that they learned that you are implementing here?
Yeah, I've reached out to my fellow mayors, but also, frankly, mayors in Texas as well. We're talking. I haven't been able to get in contact with all of them, but I'm always interested in learning from my fellow mayors about what their experiences are and what we can do to implement the things that work, but also be on the lookout for challenges that they've experienced. So, and I know that many of the people here in the organizations that they represent have been reaching out to their counterparts. I don't know if anybody wants to step up and share some best practices or things that you've learned. I'm not seeing any takers. Yeah. So, look, this is not the first time that we have had to step up in this moment. A little bit different circumstances than, for example, with the Afghanis or with the Ukrainians, but that muscle memory really has been built, and importantly, the infrastructure of support, that continuum of care, if I may, is here in our city. And we're really, really fortunate for such tremendous partners who come from all different kinds of backgrounds, but the common thread is we're here to serve.
Craig, ABC.
Mayor, you kind of alluded to it, that you've been preparing for some time. We understand the North Park facility's been being built up for at least a week. How long ago did you start preparing for this, and did you get any direct information that there were going to be buses coming here?
Well, you know that this has been happening for some time now. I think at least a month, if not a little bit longer. And we saw what was happening in New York and Washington, D.C., and we immediately knew if the pendulum swings in our direction, we need to be prepared. So conversation started several weeks back, and as the reality of this possibility seemed closer and closer, then we really kind of sprung into action. So it's been a conversation for some time, watching what was happening and thinking, again, what is he doing? He is trying to create crises in Democratic-led cities to demonstrate his toughness, right? But also, frankly, to try to embarrass us by not being ready or prepared. Well, that's never going to happen in Chicago.
Let me just play devil's advocate a little bit with that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Texas, obviously, if none of these migrants were sent anywhere else, would have to bear all the brunt of this themselves. Aren't these migrants better off going to places like Chicago, welcoming cities to get cared for?
Well, I think Alderman Rebollos kind of alluded to this. I'm happy to take and drain Texas of all of its residents. I wouldn't want to live in a state with a governor like that. I certainly wouldn't want to live in a state where they are doing everything they can to strip people of their basic rights. And let's not forget about what they've done to women and others who are seeking reproductive health care. So we welcome Texans to Chicago. And we'll rent the buses next time to bring them here. But I also think that the way in which this is done is just not right. It fundamentally isn't right. As a kid who didn't have a lot of money back in the day, and getting on Greyhound buses to travel from Chicago to my home in Ohio when I was in school here, riding on a bus for any length of time is a tough experience. But then you add to that the journey that they already had, the fact that they're in a country that's not their home country, that they're being forced to get on these buses and leave without any regard for their rights, their choice. It is not a good or patriotic thing to be doing this. Certainly, I understand the concern of Texans being situated as they are at the border. Same thing with Arizona and other states. But there's a right and a wrong way to do everything. And what Governor Abbott is doing is precisely the wrong way. We could coordinate. And we've done that before. We've welcomed people from all across the Central and South America. But then you have to do it in a way that respects their rights, with integrity and with leadership and partnership and collaboration. That's not what he's doing.
Can I just follow up with that?
Yeah, sure.
It sounds like this would work well to reach out to Abbott and say, hey, if you have some more people that you want to get rid of, can we coordinate to do it in a better way?
Well, I suppose that would work in theory, but that's not the point, right? That's not his point. His point is to try to humiliate the president, to humiliate Democratic cities led by Democratic mayors. His point is not to do the right thing in any shape or fashion. If he really wanted to do the right thing, there's many different avenues in which he could access information and access cities and states. Right? He's a part of the National Governors Association, as is our governor, as is the governor of New York, as is others. But he's choosing not to do that because this is about a cheap political point. It has nothing to do with sharing the load. That's not what this is about. And I don't want anybody to mistake his actions as being anything other than what they are, which is inhumane, unpatriotic, and a cheap political stunt.
Greg, Tribune.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Good afternoon.
I have a question from my colleague Laura Rodriguez, which is, was the city aware that other migrants that had been bused from Texas to Washington and New York had been arriving to Chicago over the past few weeks?
We have certainly heard of small numbers, and they have been helped and assisted. This is really the first time that we've had a large tranche of people that are coming to Chicago.
And
I mean, you know this, on a daily basis, we get people from all across the world coming into Chicago.
And can you, a variety of speakers, including yourself, have talked about the aid that's available. Can people talk just a little bit more specifically, besides housing, besides like the Salvation Army, just about what the city and county resources are?
Well, many of these organizations that I have the privilege of standing here with provide all kinds of supports, and you've heard some of it today. Obviously, the basics: food, clothing, and shelter. Making sure that they had a hot shower, a towel, doing a triage to see if there's any immediate needs for medical resources. Now, beyond that, then, it's having intensive case management to understand what their story is from their home country, why they were seeking asylum, and then making sure that they are equipped with legal resources and culturally competent legal resources to help them on the next legs of the journey, to educate them about what the process is going to be, working with them to make sure that their paperwork is in order. And so there's a lot of other things that have to then happen on the back end, and all of these organizations represent those different pieces. Some of these folks will be going on to other states and cities because they've got relatives who are willing to step up and provide support to them, helping facilitate that as well. So I can't tell you. I think you're asking what the dollar cost is, maybe. I can't quantify that yet because I don't know, and we don't know yet, what the specific needs are. But whatever it is, I think we have some rough ideas. But that's based on assumptions, and the assumptions are now becoming reality as we sit down and talk with these folks about what their needs are. But yes, we're going to need, if more buses come, we will need supports from the federal government. As I said, the state and the county have already stepped up. Obviously, the city's always going to have skin in this game. But ultimately, what I'd like to see is an orderly process, help supported and coordinated by the federal government, so that we're not seeing what we're seeing now, which is the potential for chaos if cities are not ready. And luckily, we were.
Diane, Borderless Magazine.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Are all the migrants that came last night, are they all requesting asylum?
I can't answer that question because, as I said, the conversations with them just started today. Certainly, if that is their wish, that is their right. So we're and the organizations that are here, particularly the ones that deal with legal supports, are going to be making sure they understand specifically what the objective is.
Thank you for that. And Governor Abbott's office said that they sent 95 migrants, but in the conference it was mentioned only 75 came. So were 20 sent to other states?
I can't account for that. I know what our head count was, I can just tell you the people that were here. Obviously, we took great care in making sure that we understood and accounted for everybody who got off the bus.
All right, Nate Fox.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, good afternoon to you. In terms of the timeline, can you talk at all, just for folks that are really trying to understand the process? I know we're addressing the immediate needs right now in terms of healthcare and all of that, but moving forward, what is a timeline that we're realistically giving these migrants in terms of when kids will be able to go to school, when folks will be able to work? What can we stand behind?
Well, some of that is going to depend, obviously, on what they want to do, meaning, are they staying here? Are they going elsewhere? What are the circumstances that they're under? I mean, we had a couple of people last night who needed medical care. So it really is, I can't give you a definitive answer. We want to make them comfortable. We want to make sure that we're attending to their needs. And obviously, there were a number of small children, some that were younger than preschool, so 1 or 2 years old. But the older kids, we want to absolutely make sure that they get settled into wherever they're going to be, whether it's here or elsewhere, and then obviously get them integrated into schools.
I got you. And then my second question is, I know you're not able to give a budget amount just yet. I did hear you say we haven't budgeted for this, but in terms of just speaking to critics who may say, hey, Chicago already has a huge homeless problem. Chicago already has a problem with mental health. How do we assure that those resources that may be devoted to those areas that won't be cut by this move?
Well, let me just push back a little bit on your premise. I don't think it's right to say that we have a huge homelessness problem. I don't know of any city across the country, certainly not any major or mid-city, that doesn't have people who are either on the street or housing unstable. So we are doing that. Again, that work is led by some really great people at the Department of Family and Support Services. We are not going to be in a situation where we detract from the services that we provide our residents on a daily basis by opening up our arms and welcoming the migrants who came here to our city. But we're not, I don't anticipate a circumstance where we're going to see that. Now, do we have unlimited funds? Of course not. No city government does. But I'm also confident that our partners that are with us in the philanthropic community and generous individuals, if there's a need, that they will also step up, because it's that we've seen that happen time and again, right? Through the pandemic, we didn't anticipate that we're going to have that kind of crisis, and very generous people stepped up, took money out of their own pocket, provided food, clothing, shelter. I have no doubt if that need is there, we will sound the clarion call and people will respond.
Elvia, Tribune?
Actually, the Sun-Times.
Sun-Times, I'm sorry.
Speaking of funding, has the state offered the city any kind of financial assisting or funding for this group? And if so, will you guys accept it, and how will those funds be used?
We never say no to money, but I'll let the Deputy Governor answer that question.
I wanted to just introduce again briefly, we have Lilian Jimenez here, who's our Director of Welcoming Centers, and she was with some folks last night, has, I think, a little bit more to add on one of your questions with regards to the numbers and the difference of the 25 people. But we are prepared to partner with the city, as we have been, on many other issues, specifically funding. And so Governor Pritzker has communicated with the mayor. I am in communication with my counterparts in the city. We are working with Commissioner Kanazi to understand very specifically what are the needs for today, tomorrow, next week, next month.
Yeah, we are very proud that we have Illinois Welcoming Centers here in Illinois. For those who are not familiar, we have 34 community-based organizations. My name is Lilian Jimenez, Associate Director of the Office of Welcoming Centers for the State of Illinois, Illinois Department of Human Services. So as the Deputy Governor mentioned, our Illinois Welcoming Centers, we have 34 community-based organizations that are funded by the State of Illinois. And just this year alone, we have doubled their funding to provide crisis intervention as well as long long-term case management. So some of the questions that were asked were about, what's going to happen in the long term. So for folks who do intend to stay in Chicago, we have organizations right now on site. Thank you to the mayor for the partnership to helping people develop an individualized plan for employment, education, and long-term housing. And I'm proud to say that we have a great history, especially in the last year, of resettling, as was mentioned, the Afghan community, the Ukrainian community, and this community is no different. They are reuniting with family. Some of them have employment opportunities. Some of them are here for educational opportunities. And we have the staff, we have the organizations that are here willing to help understand the culture, have the cultural capacity, the language capacity to help folks integrate into Chicago and statewide as well. So thank you.
I did have a follow-up question about more permanent housing. I know some of them have...
I apologize. I'm having a little difficulty hearing you say that again.
A question about permanent housing. I know they have been staying in shelters, but is there a plan to provide more permanent housing? I know for the Afghan refugees, some of them stayed in hotels for a couple months. Is that what this group will be doing?
Well, again, I think it's going to depend, and I'll invite Commissioner Kanazi to jump in here. It's really going to depend on what they want to do. Some of them have connections here in Chicago. They have connections in other states in the Midwest and elsewhere. But we're going to make sure that, obviously, housing is fundamental and basic, and we're going to provide that to them based upon what their individualized plan and case management tells us that they want. I don't know, Commissioner.
So really the plan is to have, as the mayor said, an individualized plan in conversations with individuals. Some people are seeking diversion services. So they're like, I came to Chicago and I really just want to go to Virginia, or I want to go to Wisconsin or Minnesota. And so we'll support them with their diversion resources. We had a family that came in today and they said, I'm here, but I don't want to stay in shelter. I've got family that's in the city. And so we used Uber to get them to their location. For folks that decide that Chicago is going to become their home, we'll work with them to decide, okay, what does that look like for finding employment? And in terms of housing, we'll work with them to see, about their jobs and resources to get them connected. But for now, those who want to stay in shelter are in shelter and are being treated well. So thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Thanks, Mayor. That's a wrap, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.